Hi, this is Marcus Curtis from Marcus Curtis Music, and today we're going to take the Behringer X32 producer and we're going to plug it into our computer. We're going to download the drivers, we're going to do a firmware update, we're going to download the app and install that on our computer, and we're going to use a computer to actually control the X32. I'm going to show you how to do all of that. But in addition to that, we're going to find free software that we can use to record our music with. So if you're a band and you want to record your own music but you don't have a lot of money, I'm going to show you where to get this software for free. Now, there is a lot of YouTube channels that show you how to use the Behringer with Pro Tools, but who really has an extra $600, $700 for Pro Tools? And even if you get the cheapest version you can find, I mean, you're still shelling out a lot of money. So if you're on a tight budget and you want to record your music and you happen to own one of these Behringer X32 mixers, any of the X32 mixers will work. And if you happen to own one of those, then you can plug it into your computer, be it Mac or be it PC, and still record your music. And today, I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we need to do is go to the internet and download everything we need. So we're going to open up Firefox, and in the Google page, you're going to type Behringer. And the website comes right to the top. Just click on that to go to the website. And once the Behringer page loads, we're going to click on Support. We're going to scroll down until we find Downloads. There it is. We're just going to click on it. So in the first column, Categories, we're going to look for digital mixers, or just mixers, I guess. In the subcategory, we'll find digital. Then we're looking for the X32 producer. We can go X32 producer TP. And then we're going to go to the apps. We'll download the app first. And this is going to be for PC. One file comes up, and we're going to go ahead and click on Download. And I agree to the terms. And we're just going to go ahead and save the file to the download folder. Once that's started, we'll go to the document section and see we have some product information here in English, and there's a wiki manual. We'll click on the download for the document. I found the manual on some of the other places, so I already have the owner's manual in PDF. Okay, so next we're going to go to the drivers. These are ASIO drivers. Okay, so we're going to get both of these. Okay, I'm going to download the top one and the one underneath. The top set of drivers have Windows 7 and 8 in them, and the bottom one is Windows 10. Also, the Windows 7 and 8 drivers have a Mac version of the driver. We're going to get the firmware next. Let's go ahead and download the firmware. Okay, so most of the stuff should be downloaded. Check our folder. Look in our download folder, and there it is. Okay, so we're going to make a folder, and we're going to title it Behringer. And we're going to go ahead and highlight all of this, cut it, and paste it into the folder. Good. Now we're going to start extracting things. So it's just a matter of right-clicking. We'll do Edit first, PC Edit, and we're going to go to Extract All. We're going to do the same thing with the firmware update. We're going to do the same thing with the drivers, the Behringer drivers, both sets of drivers actually. All right, now we need to place a thumb drive in our computer. Before we do that, let's look at the firmware. Here's our firmware update. If you click on the release notes, this will show you all, let's pull this down a little bit. There, this will show you all of the new features and improvements that's in the new firmware. Okay, So we're going to look for our thumb drive, and we're going to put that in. It should show up as D. Let's close this out, stick the thumb drive in. There we go. And we're going to highlight these, right click and go to copy. I'm going to paste it onto the thumb drive. Let's highlight our thumb drive. Right click and go paste. Okay, very good. So now what we need to do is go down to, I'm going to close out the browser, we're going to go down to the right hand corner, and we're going to eject the drive. Eject drive, save to remove hardware. So now we're going to pull out the thumb drive. And now we're going to turn on the Behringer mixer. Okay, once the mixer is booted up, we are going to insert the thumb drive. And if we hit the view button, you can see that this is where you could record your mixer onto a thumb drive. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do our firmware update. So we actually have to hit the settings button. And you can see on the very left of the screen, shut down, reboot, or update firmware. You just tap on the button. And then there's our firmware. It shows you which version it is. If you had more on there, more would be available if you had different versions of firmware. And tap on it again to install. Yes, gonna click on this right arrow to install. So now it's checking the file for its integrity. And then it'll do it again. When it starts installing the firmware, it will turn red. Okay, once the firmware is installing, you do not want to turn this off because you'll break the mixing board. You'll have to send it back to the factory. Never shut the power off on anything you're doing a firmware update to. Update complete. Now it's rebooting. Okay, the first thing you notice is that the screen is totally different. This is one of the updates. The screen is easier to read. The fonts are bigger. It's the same features, but it's just kind of mapped out a little bit differently. There's meters, routing, there's our library, and effects. Okay, here's the settings, and here's a lot of the other windows that you would normally see on the screen here. Okay, so click on library. One of the things about the firmware, if you have an older version of firmware, is that newer versions of firmware have a preset library. You won't find that in older versions of the firmware. And you can just tap this and it'll load an EQ setting for the various instruments. And this is more or less a jumping off point, and you can go modify it from there. Another thing about the firmware update is it includes more effects. You have effects presets here, but you have a lot more effects. If you have an older version of the firmware, you may not have all the effects that come with the board. So just by updating the firmware, you can add a whole host of effects to your mixing board. And these are expensive hardware rack mount systems that you buy, and it's all in software form, all installed on the mixer, all for free. And we're going to remove the thumb drive, and we're going to turn off the mixer. Now we need to go back to the computer. And now we're going to install the drivers. So we're going to go back to our download folder, highlight our Behringer, and we're going to click on the drivers. We're going to do the live one first. Want to do the PC version, not the Mac version. And there's our driver, Behringer Live. We're just going to go ahead and click on that. Okay, so then we're going to hit next, hit install. And next should finish it off. Finish and hit yes. Just we want to end the program here. Okay, now let's install our next set of drivers. Okay, we want to click next. Click next again. Okay, click next again. And finish. Yes or no really doesn't matter at this point. Click no, hit finish, and we're done. And you can see the drivers on the bottom of the screen on the right hand side. They're installed. So let's go and close the browser. Let's go to the mixer, and we're going to plug in the Ethernet cable. And we're going to plug the other end into the computer Ethernet. And now we're going to plug in the USB connection 2.0, and we're going to plug it into a USB 2.0 slot on the computer. And then we're going to hit the power, and the mixer is going to boot up, and you'll see it's working. The red light comes on the interface portion of the mixer. We're good to go. Okay, now we're going to go back to the computer. We're going to open up the folder. We're going to go to downloads, go to Behringer again. Okay, and we're going to install the app. So we're going to right click, hit copy, and go over to documents, and I'm going to paste that in here. I also want the Adobe files, so we're going to go back. Let's go back and highlight all these quick start guide and user manual. You can get all this stuff at the Behringer website, by the way. I'm going to right click, copy again, go back to our documents folder, open up the app and hit paste, and there's our then what we're going to do is we're going to install our backup drive. We're going to click on our Behringer, and we're going to cut and put it on our backup drive so we have it for reference. And there we go. Cut and paste. We're all done. Okay. So now what we're going to do is create a shortcut. Right click, go to shortcut, hit the browse button. We're going to navigate down to the folder that has the Behringer X32 app. Okay, there's our PDFs. I'm going to highlight this, hit OK, hit next, and hit finish. All done. I'm going to right click, and we're going to sort these icons. I'm going to sort by item type. Very good. So now we click the icon to open it up, and this is the app we use to control the mixer with. Okay, so we click on setup, and we need to connect the mixer to the app. We see our IP number here for the mixer. If you don't see that, hit connect, and it should appear, or hit rescan. Rescan will bring it up again. But your Ethernet cable has to be connected in order to get this number. The app works off the Ethernet. Hit connect, and we're going to take the settings of the mixer to the PC. And there we go. Now the mixer is interfaced with the PC. We can control it from here. So we have these user banks over here. We're going to click, we got 8 of them. So let's go ahead and click the first one, hit edit, and just click the channels you want in each user bank. Now if you click the blue selection, it takes the channels away. So you can customize each user bank. So we're just going to go ahead and create a couple different groups here. We're going to start with this first group, first 16 channels of the mixer. And then in the title, we're going to call this, instead of user 1, we're going to change it to 1 through 16. And then we just go somewhere off the side and click, and this screen will disappear. There we go. Now we can create another user bank. So I'm going to go to the second user bank, edit, and now we're going to do 17 through 32. Okay. So now we have most of our user banks the way we have set them up. And you can set yours up any way you want. This is how I've set mine up. Okay, so I'm not using 8, 1 through 16, 16 through 32. Here's the auxiliaries. Here's the buses, the effects, the main DCAs, and here's every channel. Okay, so we can go over to highlight a channel and click on the channel button, and here is everything about the channel strip. And you can engage everything from here. If you want, you can click on config, and you can see your phantom power and that kind of thing. Here's your noise gate. Dynamics, this is your compressor. This is the EQ, and this is the sends. Here's the main outs. Okay, so here are your effects. Okay, and there's a lot of effects in here, like 39 effects total, and they're all modeled after expensive rack mount gear. You have a model of guitar amp models. There's a Sans amp in here. Some of the reverbs are modeled after Lexicon. You even have a BBE Sonic Maximizer. These are all high quality rack mount effects. So if you have the Behringer mixer, you can do your firmware update and have all of these effects. And just that alone is worth the cost of admission. There's our Sans amp model. I don't say Sans amp because of trademark. And let's see what else we got here. There's our Maximizer model. Okay. All right, so we can go over here and click on routing. And all the routing that you see on the main screen of the mixer, you can access all of that stuff here. Only everything is much bigger on your computer. So the various, because we have the AES port used, we have the SD16 plugged into it. We have an additional 16 tracks that we can record from the app as well. So we can basically control all the routing from the app. And we'll have to do another video on routing. It's kind of a complicated subject. See if we can explain it a little bit better. Okay, here's all the meters for all the input and output channels. Okay, now we click on setup again. This is where we connect it to the mixer. Okay, so we have a choice of sample rate. We can do 48K or 44.1K, and synchronize through the mixer, or we can use the AES outputs. Then we have also the GUI preferences. This is preferences for the app. And then under the MIDI control section, this is where we control the MIDI inputs and outputs on the board. Okay, so if we have a keyboard plugged into the board, we can control it from there. Here's our preamp blocks, and here's our USB audio interface. And we can select a number of ins and outs from here. We can do 32 in, 32 out, 16 in, 16 out, 32 in, 8 out. That's the one I use. 8 in, 32 out, 8 in, 8 out, or 2 in and 2 out. You can do surround sound mixes with this as well. 8 out, you can do some surround sound stuff with this. Okay, and that's about it for the app, really. And now we need to go get the software for recording music with. So we're going to open up Firefox again, and we're going to go to Google and type in my website, Marcus Curtis Music. Should be the first thing to come up. Okay, so we click on the link, go to the main page. And from the main page, we click on the Ultimate Free Software Collection and go down to Free DAW Software. So here we have Cakewalk by BandLab. Cakewalk has a unique history. I'll have to explain that in another video. But this is what we're going to want to use. Now, if you want some different software, there's some software, other software you can choose from the list that I have here, and it just takes you to the manufacturer's site and you download the link. Here's a version of Pro Tools if you really want to use Pro Tools, but it's limited. It's limited in a number of ways. Number one, you can only do 3 projects, and everything has to be done online. You have to be connected to the internet. If you're using Apple, use GarageBand. And if you can get a version of Logic, that's a really good software that works with this mixer. Our door is a Linux software, but also a version for PC and a version for Mac. So when you click on the link, it takes you to the BandLab site. You're just going to have to create an account. Once you create your account at BandLab, click on this link right here. Click on the Windows link, okay? And then click on Save File. And once that file downloads, so we're going to download it right now, and click Save. And we're going to install the app. All right, now what we need to do is log in online to get the software. So we just click on the login. We want to allow access
from the firewall, and our username or email address that we just set the account up with, and our password. Now we are inside the app. We want the apps tab all the way over to the right. And we can also get like a collection of loops, and there's loop packs that you can get as well. But we want the apps. And now we'll see Cakewalk down towards the bottom right here. And we're going to click on install. Okay. Now if you click on the arrow, the little arrow there, it just takes you to a website. You'll learn more information about it. But you click on that to download it. And you want to get the studio instruments. You definitely want that. And you want the drum replacer and get the theme editor. Get all of it. Okay. And then click install. Now it's starting to download the software, and it's going to install it using the app. We're going to speed this up. Thank God for video editing, right? We'd be here forever. Okay, so now we're going to install. We're going to accept the agreement. And we're going to do the advanced options so you can see what's involved here. See, there are all the folders that's going to be created on your computer. Okay, and we want to create a desktop icon and just click install. So now it's starting to install. Now Cakewalk doesn't work with the Apple operating system. You need a Windows environment to run Cakewalk. So if you have an Apple computer, you might want to use one of the other software platforms that's on that free software page. And then once you install Cakewalk, it's going to open up this release notes. We'll just close that out though. And now what's happening is the instruments are being installed, and all the other extra goodies are being installed. Okay, and we can come back later if you want, and you can get these loop packs. There's a bunch of loops that you can download. Various styles of music. You can download them and you can arrange them. You can use them in Cakewalk or any app really. And there's all kinds of styles of music to choose from, and there's audio loops and there's MIDI loops. So if you're using some sort of a MIDI instrument, you can find loops for your instrument there. Now when we open up Cakewalk by BandLab, it's going to open up if we need to go in and set up the mixer. It says choose MIDI outputs now. So we're just going to go ahead and use the X32. We're just going to do a quick little setup to show you. Okay, so it's doing a VST scan too. So when we click on devices, we can see that our ASIO drivers are selected. Now if you don't have that, you're going to want to go to this playback recording tab. Make sure ASIO is the top driver mode selected. Here's our instruments, our digital for MIDI, or it looks like we're all set up to go. I'm going to do a more detailed video on this next. Okay, here's projects that I've previously recorded. Okay, so let's open up a project so you can see a little bit more what Cakewalk does. I'll open up my C minor project here. Sometimes I name a song after a key and come up with a name later. Okay, so here's the project that's opened, and what I like about this in Sonar is they have the Pro Tools. You click on that and the Pro channel opens up, and you can insert modules on the fly. And there's a lot of modules to choose from. There's a compressor we just kind of threw in there. Modeled after the CA2A. It's a great compressor. And it's got an incredible EQ too. It's a 4-band EQ, and it has 2 shelves in it. A really great EQ. And it flies out, and you can just control it on the fly. Very nice. And also it has console emulation. Some of these mixing consoles that cost, $80,000, $90,000, it'll emulate those consoles. So you can sound like you've recorded through one of those consoles. Here is a mastering compressor, and then here's a reverb unit, reverb. Okay, and you can remove modules too, of course. So as you can see, and you can close out the Pro channel if you want. You have 2 sends, so you can do sends to bus groups. So there's a lot of stuff this software does, and it's hard to believe, but it's all free. And so that's about it. Now you're ready to go.
All right, by now you should have all the information you need to integrate your Behringer X32 producer mixer in with your computer. Now this also works with the Behringer X32. Any digital mixer that Behringer puts out, this information will work with. Okay, so download the drivers, download the app, do your firmware update, download some recording software, and you're good to go. Okay, so this is Marcus Curtis from Marcus Curtis Music signing off. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me what you want to see, tell me what you want to know, so I know what kind of videos to make in the future. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.